This is Pastor Scott Henrich. We are looking at the Old Testament prophet Elisha in our adult Sunday school lessons. This is the first of a short series of videos where we are getting beneath the hood, taking a deeper look at some aspect of one of the readings or stories that we looked at that I thought was interesting. Let's go. All right, here we go. We are meeting the Old Testament prophet Elisha in 1 Kings chapter 19. The Lord promises to Elijah that Elisha will come, and then here we meet him. Let me just zoom in. There we go. So he, Elijah, departed from there and found Elisha, the son of Shaphat. And here we learn about how Elijah met Elisha. We learn a little bit about Elisha's background and character. But I contend we can learn about Elisha just from his name. This gets a little crazy, so I want you to track with me. See if you can track with me. Let me know what you think if I'm making too much of this. But to understand the connection here, to learn from this, we have to understand the connection between Elisha and Elijah. So here are their names in Hebrew. Let me back up a little bit. You have Elijah, and then Elijah leads ahead to Elisha. To understand that connection, let's look at a couple more Bible verses. So first of all, this is from 1 Kings chapter 19. If you zoom ahead to the end of the Old Testament, Malachi chapter 4, we have a prophecy about the return of Elijah. So verse 5 here, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord." A prophecy that one like Elijah would come. And then we have an explicit fulfillment of that prophecy in the New Testament. So Jesus is talking here, and here he is talking about John the Baptist, the forerunner of Jesus who pointed ahead to him. John had been arrested. Jesus starts talking about him, says that he's great, the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And then here Jesus says, verse 14, "And if you are willing to receive it, he, John the Baptist, is Elijah who is to come. He who has ears to hear, let them hear." Jesus is drawing an explicit connection between John the Baptist and Elijah. Just like John was a forerunner of Jesus, Elijah was the forerunner of Elisha. So maybe you've heard of Elijah, haven't heard of Elisha, but really, Elisha in many ways outstripped Elijah. He did more miracles than him. He was in some ways more outwardly successful. So here we have this connection here between Elijah and Elisha and John the Baptist and Jesus. The connection gets even cooler. Again, here's where you'll have to track with me. Here are their Hebrew names. First, we'll go with Elijah. So you have El here. This is the Hebrew for El. That just means God. And then Jah, or Yah, is short for Yahweh, which is the personal name for God, Lord. So you have God is Lord, the Lord is God. That's what the name Elijah means, confessing the Lord of Israel, God of Israel, is the one true God. Elisha's name is similar in a sense, where you have El here also. So you see that similar connection, El, but the ending is different. It's Shah, and that's from the Hebrew word to save. So here you have the word, the name means God saves. That's what the name Elisha means, which is a very close connection to, well, another pair of people. This is where it gets a little crazy, but Elisha, his name is very similar to Joshua. So Joshua also followed up Moses. Moses got the people to the edge of the promised land. Joshua took them into the promised land. Joshua's name, you see that same root here for Shah, very similar to the end of Elisha's name. Different beginning though, Yah, but you already saw this beginning, if you were paying attention, from the end of Elijah's name. You have that connection, Yah. So Joshua means Lord, and then you have that same Shah ending, saves. That's what Joshua's name means. Why is that cool? Well, they're similar, and Joshua and Elisha are their second in the pattern. Also, well, Joshua, this is something maybe obscure to us in our English translations, is actually the same name as Jesus. Obviously, sounds different to us. The names had to pass through Latin first. It got a little distorted. But originally, Joshua and Jesus are really the same names. So the name Jesus means Lord saves. Same name as Joshua, and really the same name as Elisha. So all three of these men who followed up their predecessors and took the ministry to the next level, Jesus obviously the greatest in the greatest way by being our Savior, going to the cross for us, all three of these men essentially have the same name, which I think is just awesome. Maybe you think this is a little bit more of a crazy conspiracy. Let me know what you think. I think this is pretty cool. Elijah, God is Lord, the Lord is God. Elisha, God saves, which is the same name as Joshua. The Lord saves, which is also the same name as Jesus. I think it's cool. Let me know what you think.